Hundreds of men every night in John Wagner's saloon. The rear of the room was filled with gambling tables of every kind, principally faro banks, presided over by silent, watchful dealers, with hundreds, even thousands of dollars in gold and silver stacked up in front of them, and a gun always within reach. Nearly everybody drank, nearly everybody gambled. Boisterous conviviality was the prevailing spirit. Whiskey was the common drink. Beer and wine were too insipid for those tough stomachs, and much whiskey led to quarreling and gunfighting. Weapons were oftener drawn than used. When a shot was fired, the crowd would make a mad rush for the front doors. Many times, John Wagner's front doors were carried bodily out into the street by these stampeding crowds, eager to escape flying bullets. Fortunately, the fighting was confined to the rough element, and so long as they killed off one another, the better citizens did not care. Every once in a while, an innocent spectator would get in the way of a bullet, but that was considered partly his own fault for being there.
The boys have a reprehensible practice at shooting at targets across Main Street, a diversion not eminently calculated to soothe the nerves of one having occasion to cross the line of fire. The terror thus inspired, however, is supposed to considerably enhance the fascination of the sport. Signed, James Braley.
Bodie whiskey, mixed with Bodie's bad men and Bodie's saloons, created a kind of alcoholic delirium that was conducive to protracted shootouts, Bodie style. Known as Bad Shot Gulch and as a shooter's town, Bodie's bad men seemed to use up a lot of lead in order to hit anything. In the case of Misters Nixon and McDonald, 8 shots were exchanged while they were 3 feet apart. Only one bullet hit anybody. Called shooting sensations by the Bodie press, they occurred with enough regularity to give rise to the oft-raised question upon rising: have we a man for breakfast?
The shooting was kept up for all of an hour, and then Kurgan's boarding house began to overflow with arrivals. Both cells were literally packed. As each one was brought in, his person was searched for concealed weapons. There were no less than 18 knives of all sizes and 15 guns that could completely demoralize any Eastern man. Daily Bodie Standard, August 1879.
They have some very poor marksmen in Bodie, and some resident undertakers ought to start a shooting gallery here. About 2 o'clock last Monday morning, 2 men emptied the contents of 2 6-shooters at each other across the counter in the bar room, with no other effect than tapping a barrel of ale. One of the men then retired to the street, where he obtained a fresh supply of ammunition, and the firing was kept up until nearly daylight, putting 3 balls through the glass doors and shooting of a cigar in the mouth of a passing stranger, making the cigar too short to smoke. This indignity then caused the smoker to lose his temper, and he woke up the constable, whereupon the firing ceased.
Some of the newspapers are commenting upon the number of shooting scrapes that occur in Bodie. But to be sure, here is something of a shooting gallery, and there is a man shot before breakfast not infrequently. But what are we to do? times are dull, money scarce, and the weather miserable. Under such a condition of affairs, there must be some inexpensive recreation provided for the people. Six-shooters are of no account unless they can be used, and coffins will warp and be unfit for occupancy if allowed to stand a great while in an undertaking establishment. June 1881.
The bad man from Bodie was Washoe Pete. And it was Red Roe, Rattlesnake Dick, or Bill Deegan. Many a town rough personified the bad man, and many paid the full price for a slow draw. Part myth, part reality, the bad man from Bodie was dangerous only to those who fooled with the rough crowd. The least discriminating killer in Bodie didn't even use a six-shooter.
There's no place in the world that the mercury can drop so easy and without fuss as in Bodie. It fell to about 20 degrees below zero Friday night and came up smiling the next day as though nothing had happened. October 1880.
The weather is so cold in Bodie that 4 pairs of blankets and 3 to a bed is not sufficient to promote warmth.
A more uninviting region would be difficult to imagine. Publishing a newspaper, let alone mining hard rock, could be arduous.
The printing office is open on all sides, and the snow flies in wherever it pleases. In the morning, everything is frozen solid. Then we throw things out, and the whole concern is deluged with drippings. It's hard to set type under such conditions. When the office is dry, it is too cold to work. When it is warm, the printer needs gum boots and oil skins. In fact, it has been a hell of a job to get this paper out. The index, 1880.
The fall of snow was tremendous, and a terrific gale from the south added to the discomfiture. The town on Wednesday resembled a Siberian stage station. Not 2 men could be seen on the streets at any one time. Several times during the day, it was reported that miners had lost their way and sank down exhausted in trying to climb the hill through 3 feet of snow on the level in the face of a raging blizzard.
In spring, the snowmelt caused another set of problems. People and animals often got stuck in the bog that was, during better times, Main Street. It took 14 mules to pull one freight wagon out of the mud. And it was especially treacherous for drunken town derelicts, who sometimes had to be extracted from the muck using a wagon crane. It was so bad one could safely walk across on the ears of mules trapped in mud, according to one old-timer.
The Bodie Silver Cornet Band will give a grand ball in the Miners' Union Hall on September 6th for the purpose of buying instruments.
It was a 24-hour-a-day town now. Stamp mills thumped away day and night, and the town was never quiet.
Never before in the history of Bodie has there been such a continual round of gaiety among our better class of citizens as at present. There are public balls given by the numerous social and fraternal organizations to such an extent that one has considerable difficulty keeping up with the giddy whirl. Yet